Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to finally do anime reviews again. I'm here, I'm back, I've got more time. But yeah, no, wanted to do the season earlier, but didn't have the time. I have the time now, and I've just finished watching the first episode of Danmachi, season 4. I think we're at episode 8 right now. I hope to get there. Hopefully, I'll be there by next week, but we'll see. And I'll just be logging my experience with the series as we go along. I think that'd be worthwhile. Probably the videos won't be too long, but hey, if you're watching this video like 8 weeks late, pretty much, thanks for watching. So Danmachi Season 4, Episode 1. That's what we're covering. This is going to be my review. So I picked Danmachi to start with because I love Danmachi. I have the volumes. It's one of my favorite series. It's one of the few series that I buy the physical copies for, so I'm always in to watch Danmachi. I really thought I was going to have nice things to say, but I don't. I don't have nice things to say. I mean, like, they're positive things, but there's always there's always interesting choices in what they skip and what they don't. And when it comes to episode 1, I don't think it's on paper, I don't think it's a good season premiere. Like, I don't think it's a good start to the new book. In the volume, and just for the record, so that we know that I put my money where my mouth is. Volume 12, right? Volume 12 has a solid start. And anyway, like, the weakest part is really just this. The whole episode, they spend it talking about, hey, we gotta go on an expedition, and the biggest question is just, what is an expedition? Like, you might not notice, but it's actually a keyword. So this was probably like the most disappointing thing, is just they don't ever actually tell you why they're being compelled to go on an expedition. They're told they have goals, they're told, hey, like, you're gonna go pick up items, and it's just unfortunate. Like, it'd be nice to know why the guild does the things it does. So just to answer the question, the guild wants unknown areas of the dungeon to be constantly explored and new resources uncovered. Dungeon-type familias only exist in the city, and if you want to call yourself one, then the guild demands that you have to show for it. You have something to show for it. Hestia says she didn't know that. Then we get the narration that it's noted that Hestia seemed to have a minor shock, and then we get the narration that says, given the guild's history and the fact that it held the real power over the only dungeon in the world, it made sense that its ultimate goal was to explore and understand a subterranean maze that sprawled beneath their feet. And then it talks about yet unknown resources, territories, and discoveries would of course be closely connected to the future development of Horario. And that was why the guild made things like adventure registration so convenient. So, you know, it goes into like more details. We don't need the more details for the purpose of an anime, but ultimately, when we come into this, like, think about it. How interesting is that? It's like, oh yeah, it makes sense why you would send capable people out, because, like, actually, yeah, you kind of revolve your whole economy around discovering new stuff, and you want to find new items. Like, it's really that age of exploration kind of vibe there. So it's just unfortunate, you know, you go to this whole episode, people are talking about, yo, we gotta go on an expedition, and no one ever actually points out why an expedition is a big deal and why they were able to, like, collect so many people. Like, expeditions are the kind of things that the Loki Familia goes on. Like, this is a big deal. So that was the most unfortunate thing, that they didn't really do the world building on this one. Especially when you got a keyword, it would have been really nice. Now, the other side of this too is the production for Danmachi. You know, those guys are so on top of everything in terms of just on top of the money pile. Like, Danmachi sells. Danmachi is one of the hardcore light novel franchises. It sells a lot of copies. Like, that author can afford to only put out one Danmachi book a year. It sells a lot of copies. So, like, the thing is, like, when you look at it from the side of a promotional anime, the anime is already doing its job. These guys, they've been doing this for such a long time that they don't really care that much about what information gets left behind. They've decided what they have to focus on, and they always focus on it. And yeah, no, when it comes to Danmachi, you know, it's a moot point at this point. They're gonna keep dropping stuff from the books because they know what sells for their product, which is the anime. And at the end of the day, the books keep selling. Like the anime does its job and it keeps selling. It's just unfortunate, right? Because you don't get the complete experience. You don't get to know like, oh, you know, this is actually because there's a really breathing world behind it. It's not just some enigmatic corporation telling you to do shit. It's actually like, hey, you have to do stuff because this is kind of what we're built on. Like if we don't do this, we're not gonna like make progress on getting to the bottom of the dungeon. And honestly, with the Fell stuff, talking about like how you have to get to the bottom of the dungeon, it's nice to know that the guild also has a vested interest and they're enforcing that interest, and it makes sense, right? Everything's connected. So that's the unfortunate thing. You know, when it comes to Danmachi, there are stuff that's written into the books that, you know, connect the whole picture and make things flow a little bit better, but when you go into the anime, they drop so many things, and sometimes it's so many critical things. Other than that, you know, I felt the episode was fairly fast-paced. They focused a lot more on the characters, and you saw that all throughout. Like, you had a bunch of people showing up here and there. Aisha showing up, wonderful surprise. Always nice to see Aisha. Everyone getting help and all that kind of good stuff. That was super cool. Again, it does show that they focus more on the characters. The shots that they had for Aisha, we could tell you like, oh yeah, you know, they also kind of focus on the thirst traps. I wonder if we can catch a segment of said thirst trap. Actually, the whole thing with Aisha and Haruhime was pretty much just like... It was funny, right? Like, you still get the vibes from the, what was it called? Or you know, the Red Light District. Moving on from those general points, in terms of other content, it was a little bit unfortunate that we didn't get the sequence with the gods deciding the new nicknames for a bunch of the adventurers, because, like, Welf was involved. I think some other people were involved in that one, too, from the other familias, but we didn't really get to see it there, which was unfortunate. Maybe that happens in a future episode. One of the good things about going into this watch through is that I might be complaining about things that, you know, might be coming in the future. And the sequence with all the gods talking about the new nicknames and Rabbit Foot and all that kind of stuff, that feels like the kind of stuff that we could get in another episode. Unless it happened in the last season and I forgot. If I forgot, apologies. But we didn't get to see that sequence here. In terms of things that I found really interesting in the episode, I did love this segment in general. I love the idea of skill versus power, and it makes sense. It makes sense fundamentally. Like, you get it. For instance, if I was a rock climber, I could like muscle my way through everything, but you know, I'm gonna lose energy. People can do much more with less strength than I have. So technique that's one of the areas where technique versus strength is very apparent. In this situation, like, it makes sense. You have all this power, but if you don't know how to use it, then, you know, someone that doesn't know how to use their power, they can do more with less. So I like that segment. I do feel like that was talked about, though, in the previous season, in season 3, or maybe season 2. I feel like season 2 would have covered that. Whenever we were doing the Haruhime stuff, I feel that would have been when you covered it, because this girl here, she has assassination tricks. So she was... Like, when it came to the whole stuff with Haruhime, it was like pure skill on her part. So it is kind of interesting to have the skill-power divide being brought up again, when I'm pretty sure, like, given that she was using assassination or ninja-style techniques, I'm pretty sure there was a big thing about the skill for that era. But again, these characters are associated with skill versus power, so like that kind of makes sense to me. That was a very good segment here. Were there any other spots that were really cool? Belle taking the intellectual approach and studying like a actually smart person. Really nice. The thing is, Belle doesn't really talk too often, so you don't get to see much of his character. You just get to see a lot of other people talking about him. But yeah, like, this is a reasonable thing to do. On the other side, with Lily also getting some development in terms of what she can do that's uniquely hers, we have the parallels to Finn, and then we have, of course, Daphne and Cassandra talking about being a general pretty much in the back lines. I really like that. Pretty much what you saw here, everyone had opportunities to grow, and they also had avenues they could pursue if they wanted to continue growing. Now, the episode did something pretty cool in that, you know, by the end of it, we're kind of just jumping in through this whole segment of the guys down in the dungeon. It was cool to see some of these little battle bits, like, honestly. It was cool to see Aisha doing stuff. And then we see that wonderful moment with Belle going up to destroy the nest. We get to see Argonaut boosted Firebolt. So that felt pretty good, not gonna lie. I got a little bit of chills, just a little bit. But the whole thing where everyone got, like, the slides. Let me see if I can get their faces cutting in. Can we catch it? Can we catch it? Yeah. All this stuff, right? It was just so odd. It's so odd because at the end of the day, he's just fighting a giant nest. But you know, it's just like, oh yeah, no, like technically this is really impressive. It's just, you know, it's a nest of, it's a nest. It's not moving. But yeah, no, that was just kind of funny. But overall, for the first episode of Danmachi, season 4, yeah, you know, I'm always gonna have questions about why they remove certain things, and like even again, I feel like answering what an expedition is super critical. Like why it's important. I mean, when you have characters asking what's an expedition, like again, it's a keyword, right? Like this is just the basics. But again, Danmachi's makes so much money. These guys have a style, and like they haven't been punished for their style. They haven't like suffered repercussions for the style. So like it's too late. We're 4 seasons in. Whatever they choose to cut, they're always gonna keep cutting it because they're still winning. They're still winning even though they're cutting it out. You know, also they might talk about it in future episodes, which at that point then I will revise my review on this one. Actually, no, it still stands because like this is the first episode. You should kind of explain what the expedition is. It's a keyword, but yeah. Overall, Danmachi episode 1 of season 4, I would give it, according to light novel adaptation standards, we had good character reintroductions. We had character futures being set up. You know, there's things they can do. They have options. We got to see which characters are going to be important for this arc. Oh, we also had Daphne or Cassandra talking about her new vision. Also, I love the mythology behind Cassandra and Daphne, and I think it was like the Oracle of Delphi, I think is what she's based on. Anyway, I love the mythology behind it. We got to see that kind of stuff. We got to see that something's going on in a dungeon, which will be probably the enemy that we're encountering. I say probably, but I know the answers already, kinda. Yeah, you know, that not giving basic definitions is really gonna bother me. For a light novel adaptation, I'm giving this one like an 8 out of 10. That's probably my number there at the end. Give me the definitions, man. But yeah, guys, let me know what you thought down below if you're watching this video. And oh, you know what? Maybe I should plug my book. Guys, if you would love to support the channel and you like reading, please consider checking out the Dungeons Guardian self-published. It might have a few typos in there still. I'm still trying to find all of them. But hey, it's my most critically well-reviewed book. Feel free to check it out. If you like lit RPG, you can check it out in the description down below. Really appreciate it. But yeah, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.